Hello and welcome again to Civil Discourse Now. I'm Mark Small.
And I'm Paul Ogden.
Paul, I'm trying to figure out how this works.
You got one of those fancy new iPhones?
No, it's kind of a... Never mind. I got it to work.
Okay.
That's kind
great. Great.
What?
It is an iPhone.
Oh, well, it is an iPhone. It's not a fancy new one. It's the last one that's kind of obsolete.
It's newer than my BlueBerry phone.
Yep. So it was cheap. I mean, it was cheaper than the regular ones. This is a beautiful day. It is October 13th, 2012.
I see Regan is about ready to enter the set.
Yes, we have our show's pet squirrel. Hey, Regan, come on. Come on.
I tried to call the squirrel Reagan, but I got overruled.
By the squirrel.
By the squirrel.
This is our first segment. We generally talk about what's going on generally in town, in the state, in the country. Several topics have come up this week.
No baseball.
There was no baseball.
No baseball this week. Baseball's over.
Paul, baseball is over for you because you're a fan of the Cincinnati Reds Major League team.
Who choked, losing 3 straight games at home.
Yeah, they did.
Yes, they did.
That's too bad. My Cubs didn't choke at all this week.
No,
they
didn't
choked
lose.
in April. A couple of things happened this week. For one thing, the state had kind of an odd thing happen with privatization of the lottery.
I don't know if we've talked since they privatized the lottery, and I'm not sure when it actually takes effect. I don't know if the governor has to approve it, but the Lottery Commission voted for one of the vendors over the other one, which was, I can't remember, G-Tech, I believe is the one that won the bid, and there's one named Scientific Games that I believe lost the bid.
Yes, but my understanding is that G-Tech and Scientific Games were kind of partners over in Illinois on Illinois' privatization effort.
Right, right.
And that really didn't go very well.
No, it didn't, and I believe the IBJ, Indianapolis Business Journal, had a large article. No, or was it the Star?
The Star Today had an article.
Star Today had an article.
But
previously, I think the Star had another article talking about it.
The contract over there, the vendor did not meet the expectations that it had set for itself with the state, and we just had our guest panelist for our next segments coming on. Jeff Cox just came onto the set, but the lottery contract that was done, there were questions about whether or not the bid was pristine. They didn't do a best and final, because a lot of times on contracts they'll do a best and final where the two contractors can kind of go at each other. And that's the thing about blind bidding or you know, where bidders. My old man was a contractor. You submit your bid in a sealed envelope for a reason. That's so that nobody else knows what your bid is, so that other bidders can't try and come in under what you bid.
And unfortunately, some of these privatization deals, Mark, involve hiring the right people to lobby for you. Politically connected individuals that might have influence within the administration, let's say, or influence within the Lottery Commission. Like I said, I'm not sure if the governor actually has a veto over this or not. It doesn't sound like he's going to exercise it regardless.
Why wouldn't he?
I don't understand why they're doing it at the end of his term. Why not wait till the next governor to come in?
Well, I think the similar thing happened when John Adams was president of the United States, Paul.
I don't remember that.
They were called, well, I do. I was a senior in high school that year. They were called midnight appointments of judges. And as he was going out the door, he appointed a whole bunch of people so that he could...
Right. Marbury versus Madison.
Yes, in which John Marshall ruled on the case, and John Marshall was one of those midnight appointees.
Yes, I know.
Not many people know that.
No conflict of interest there.
But on this, the lottery shouldn't be privatized to begin with. The company that lost already is doing computer work for the state with the lottery, and it's going to cost $19 million for transition, they say.
Right. Privatization has to be about competition. That's what privatization was designed to be. It has gotten away from that. You give someone a 15-year contract, they're not really worried about competition, at least until the first 12 years run.
And if the bidding process for a contract is not pristine, then that's really not competition either.
Exactly. So there's a lot of problems with it. I know it was a big thing in the 90s. I was a big supporter of it. but in how it's been applied has been totally opposed to the way they outlined it in the 90s.
So you're a socialist now?
Not a socialist, Mark. Not like you.
Okay, another story this week, CIB and TIFS. Acronyms for the city of Indianapolis.
Well, actually, those are two separate issues. CIB is, of course, owns, you put those in quotes, owns the various stadiums around town, and they actually, their tenants are the sports teams.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Let's talk. Okay, CIB is like Capital Improvements Board,
Right.
and they own those buildings. Now, I don't know that they're a very good landlord, because my understanding of a landlord, you pay rent to a landlord.
Well, the Colts pay $1,000 a month to play in Lucas Oil Stadium. Isn't that fair rent?
I didn't know that they paid that much.
They do. They
Gosh.
do pay $1,000.
Then the Pacers.
I thought they did.
The Pacers don't pay anything. They get all the concessions,
They get
all the ticket sales, and they get $10 million a year.
Not only that, they get 100% of the revenue for non-Pacer events there. Not just the Pacer games, for non-Pacer games. With the Colts, it's 50%, but we have to pay to run. We have to run the place. Over at Lucas, I keep wanting to say Conseco Fieldhouse. I guess it's the Bankers Life Fieldhouse now.
Well, it's just the RCA Dome. It was Hoosier Dome.
Right, you're right. The Bankers Life
still standing because
Fieldhouse.
we're paying taxes on it.
They were paying to run it, but they were allowed to keep all the profits. Now we're paying $10 million every year.
Okay. Now, the CIB is saying that they're out of money.
No, they're saying they have a surplus, but it's not a huge surplus right now.
So they don't
They
have
owe a
enough
lot
of
of money,
surplus.
and they don't want to have to pay a pilot, which is a payment in lieu of taxes, which nonprofit organizations are sometimes required to pay in lieu of taxes, in lieu of property taxes.
Okay, so CIB isn't getting any money as a landlord running these buildings where the tenants don't pay them any money, and they need more money from the city of Indianapolis?
Right. They need more money to promote tourism and other things.
Oh, well...
Which I don't see why that is their function, for the CIB to hand out grants like they do. Why is the CIB in that business?
It's not ours to question.
Oh, I guess.
I mean, that's from what I can tell in reading about the way in which the city of Indianapolis and the state of Indiana function.
Yeah.
The other thing is, TIFs are there's been a vote on them. Is there going to be another vote on them?
Metropolitan Development Commission has to vote on the expansion of the downtown TIF, and I believe that is set for next Wednesday. But you have other TIFs that are being proposed and going through the process now, including a midtown TIF that will include the parking garage here in Broad Ripple.
Well, and very necessary structure we had to build there.
Yeah, and what you say with sarcasm, Mark.
No, I would never be sarcastic about anything that the city does.
You have to have a parking mark for the commercial tenants that are going to be there.
Yeah, the commercial tenants...
That we get no revenue from. We get no revenue from the parking.
No.
We pay $6 million to actually build the thing and give it away to a private company.
So is CIB running that too?
No.
Well,
no.
but it sounds like a CIB operation.
It does sound like a CIB operation.
That must really be tough running the CIB. What kind of hours do you think those people work?
I don't know, but they do get a lot of perks, including tickets to Colts games and Pacers games.
And they should. They have to keep an eye on their tenants.
And they have a suite.
That's
CIB has
sweet.
a suite. Has a suite.
So who goes to their suite?
I'm sure they're family and friends.
That is cool.
Yeah.
After all those hard hours that they work, those long hours. Another thing that came up in terms of a topic this week was satellite voting in the county.
Correct.
And my understanding of the statute is that in order for satellite voting, and this went out again.
Satellite early voting.
Satellite early voting, in order for that to go through, there are 3 members of the election board, two Democrats and Republican. It has to be...
well, it's the Democrat, Republican, and the clerk, whatever party the clerk is.
And right now it's 2 Democrats and Republican.
Right.
The 2 Democrats voted for satellite voting. The Republicans said no, the only early voting that can take place is downtown the city-county building. And he said there were concerns about voter fraud, and there wasn't any evidence that there had been any voter fraud in 2008 or 2010.
Yeah, that's right. They did have early voting in 2010. And that is one thing. Typically, Democrats want to put the early voting site in a location where people who are inclined to vote Democrat live. So like Center Township someplace. Republicans tend to want to put satellite voting in a location, maybe Perry Township, where there are going to be more Republicans vote.
Or since this is a Democratic county generally, the base is they want to put as few satellite locations in as possible.
Well, if I could see a compromise where the Democrats pick a place and Republicans pick a place. But it is a Democratic county, and I think there is a view that you make voting easier, there's going to be more Democrats vote. Well, I think that's exaggerated.
Well, but I guess it's getting people to exercise their vote is a positive thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then last is trying to eliminate the homestead credit.
That made the news this week. It was before a committee, and it passed. Whoops, sorry. I'm sorry, it did not pass. It got voted down in committee. Only one Republican voted for it, Marilyn Feaster, who is a Republican on the west side. They're still trying to push it forward. It basically would eliminate the local homestead, which is smaller than the state homestead.
And that's the ability of somebody to write off part of their property taxes?
Reduce their assessed value,
okay.
I believe.
And so they want to eliminate it. Why?
Because it's really complicated. Because the city would end up getting more money.
You could explain the math to me, but it'd take too long.
It'd take too long, exactly. The city would end up getting more money. But schools and other entities would end up getting less money. So that's the downside.
Well, then why don't we take some of the money that's going to the Pacers and the Colts and give it to the schools?
I don't know about giving it to the schools, but I think public safety would be good.
Oh, that's right, because they're going to short the city police department a couple of graduating classes in order to finance the CIB.
I think they haven't had a graduating class in a while.
At all?
At all. I mean, they're not having one this year. I don't know that they had one last year.
Well, maybe some of the people who are running CIB could go over and take some classes to be law enforcement.
And that's one of the arguments for paying the pilot is you look at downtown, you look at the two stadiums, they involve a lot of police presence there. And those are taxpayer dollars, and they're not paying for that.
Well, as tenants should, but that's just the way that things run in this crazy world, in this crazy town called Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Our mayor, where is he right now? Or do we have one?
He was in Australia. I'm not sure if he's back.
Is he globe-trotting?
He likes to travel.
Well, I mean, and we have like so many reasons to do that, to send our mayor out of the city. Last but not least, baseball season is over. For anybody who's really a baseball fan, Orioles are out. The evil Yankees.
Is Washington out?
Washington's out.
That is sad.
Yeah, I know.
Such a great year.
Yeah, I know, because they wouldn't pitch Strasburg, and the Cardinals.
I didn't understand that. I mean, you don't get to the final. Because you don't get to playoffs every year.
Because the surgeon said
it's not the NFL.
If they worked his arm anymore, it'd blow it out because he had Tommy John surgery. So they only gave him so many innings for the year. But the Yankees are going on to face the A's win.
I'm not sure
because they were playing. No, Detroit won.
Oh,
so the Yankees are playing Detroit. And then the Cardinals are playing
the Giants.
So
you're saying cheer for the Tigers?
Yeah.
Triple Crown winner.
Cheer for the first Triple Crown winner since 1967, Yastrzemski, and cheer for like inner city people that are going out there and earning their hard-earned dollars and paying for stadiums like we do in Indianapolis. We're going to be back here in the next segment to discuss the vice presidential debate and polling with our special guest panelist, Jeff Cox. We'll be right back.